My sister's dead. She was found dead in her home. Just died suddenly. We just got the news from a detective that she died in her home. This news came very sudden. This news was very shocking, as my sister wasn't sick. My sister wasn't ill, and she wasn't suffering from nothing. You understand what I'm saying? So the idea that my sister never seen a doctor, the idea that my sister goes from her home to a body bag to the coroner, and that they're calling my families and telling them that my sister's just dead. No cause of death. The medical investigator told my family that my sister died young and healthy, as she stands over her organs, examining each one of her organs, young and healthy. So all of her organs are fresh, real fresh, because she took real good care of herself since she turned 40. Once they started talking about 40 is the new 20, that's when she started taking advantage of her health. So the idea that she just died suddenly, it is shocking. You understand? So the idea that the medical investigator could say that my sister died young and healthy at 42 years old, and that there needs to be further testing, and that these testing could take months. So for the past month and change, my family's been going through some shit. You understand what I'm saying? Because we don't know what happened. All we know is that the revolutionary sister, Puzzle, okay, been getting death threats since she was fired, or a little bit before she was fired at her last job, Borealis, okay? And at the end of the day, within the last 3 weeks before my sister passed, shit that's been going on with me, that I've been alerting people of, that I've been alarming people that there's been a situation, that I've been reaching out to people telling them there's a situation. You understand what I'm saying? Just for them to tell me, ooh, this shit sounds like a movie. It's not a fucking movie, motherfuckers. It's not a fucking movie. I know this shit sounds like a crazy ass motherfucking good ass motherfucking movie, but put the popcorn down. This ain't no movie. This is real motherfucking life. And you sitting here thinking this is just me? Oh no. This shit affects us all. All right? And I'm going to tell you just how it affects us all. Because the idea that in the last 3 months before my sister passed, so that means from the end of March up until the end of June, when my sister passed, I have 17 911 calls and 0 police reports. 17 911 calls between the time of March 21st and August. And June. I'm gonna scratch that. Let me start here. So let's start here. I served in the early 2000s. Before I was the age of 21 years old, I was sentenced to 17 unjust years in prison for a crime that somebody else committed. A man that I was with, who is 20 years older than me, who I was with at the time when I was a kid. So my homie's 20 years older than me, and he took me. So he from Long Island. I'm from Brooklyn. So on the night of my arrest, we was going to his house in Long Island for the first time. He stops in the neighborhood in Long Island and says he's going to pick something up at his sister's house. So I'm the passenger on a motorcycle. And I'm waiting for him on the motorcycle to come back from his sister's house so he could pick something up real quick. He comes back like 15 minutes later while I'm waiting for him, right? In this type of area that I was in, it was nighttime, it was foggy, it was dark. It's around 10 o'clock p.m. It was a wealthy, white, rich neighborhood, right? And on one side of the street is a big house. Smaller than a mansion, but it's a big house. On the other side where there's a big house is under construction, so nobody lives there, right? And on the other side of the street is just straight woods. You can't see nothing. It's pitch black. So I don't see where he's going to. He goes up a hill. You understand what I'm saying? He goes in the crib. He comes back. I don't hear no burglar alarm, and the victim testified that she don't hear no motorcycle, and she never see me. So I'm not nowhere near the crime, okay? So the long story short is this. This was a home invasion. And it was a petty crime where the person that I was with ran into a white woman's home, who was home at the time, and he ran into there and took a purse and a wallet out of her, off of her back porch from her back kitchen and ran out. He saw the purse, wallet, he snatched it, he ran out. He had a backpack, so he had that shit in his backpack, means when he came running out, he didn't have nothing. He didn't come running. You understand what I'm saying? So this is the story of my case, right? And so as a kid, as a naive little kid, you know what I'm saying, sometimes you believe things that a man that's 20 years older than you tell you, right? Sometimes. So in this case, yeah, that's what I did. I thought he was going to his sister's house. Turns out he burglarized a crib. All right, so now we riding on a motorcycle doing what we do. And long story short, it's a high-speed motorcycle chase now. Now the police is chasing us. So because I don't know that it's a crime and I'm the passenger in the bike, the main thing that I'm focusing on is holding on to the bike so that I don't lose my life. Because this nigga's going like $120 on this motorbike. All right. I used to go joyriding with him. Used to bike all the time. That shit wasn't really nothing for me. But when you're being chased, 120 being chased in the dark, that shit is kind of scary. So that's how that night was. So by the time he hit this cul-de-sac area, it's like a rotary that's made up like into a circular form. So into the circular form, the bike couldn't maintain the speed at the same speed going around. So the shit wiped out. The bike wipes out. I'm rolling over 3, 4, 5 times. This nigga running through the woods. I'm running behind him. You understand what I'm saying? Long story short, the cops ended up jumping on me because it was mad dark. And the type of helmet that I had, it was a helmet that clipped up. So you put the whole, you click the sides, and when you press the buttons, the face clicks up. It's not the helmets that you take off. So when I did that, I'm thinking it's the helmet that I had on that had it looking pitch black. Nah. When I had put the helmet up so I could see, a fucking branch stuck me in the eye. So I had to like pull the branch out. So it's so dark. I'm trying to run like, where the fuck is this nigga? What the fuck is going on type shit? And next thing you know, the cars start coming out of nowhere. Police cars. They jump on top of me. They grab me. They put me in handcuffs. They put me in their car. Check this out. I had a gun on me, but I wasn't a part of the burglary. That's what I do. I like weapons. So at the end of the day, that's what I had on me. So when they asked me if you had any weapons, I told them the truth. Yeah, I do have weapons. It's right here. You understand what I'm saying? And I told them how I got into contact with that weapon at the end of the day. So what I was guilty of and what I've been pled guilty of, wanting to plead guilty of, is possession of a weapon. Because that's what I was guilty of. I'm not going to take the charge for somebody else, nor am I going to help you do your job by helping you find this person. I don't know this person. I don't know much about this person. I just met this nigga like a month ago. You understand what I'm saying? So the fact that I'm caught up in this whole situation and now you want all this stuff from me while you're telling me that you're going to give me 20 years to 25 years in prison because that's the max that this charge holds. Wow. 20-year-old student. Mother came to every single court date. You understand what I'm saying? Not only was I a 20-year-old college student, I was also studying to be a paralegal. So I knew a few things about criminal law and criminal justice. You know what I'm saying? So I was in my 4th semester. So yeah, I knew enough to know that this was bullshit. I'm going to trial. So I did what 98% people don't do in this country. If you look into statistics, just go straight to Google, say how much percent of people in prison go to trial. You're going to be stunned by the number, 2%. 98% of people in this country, all across this country, they don't see a trial, which means I am one of 2%. So that's just one thing about me, right? The other thing about me is that what happened at trial is a whole scandalous situation. What happened at trial was police misconduct, prosecutorial misconduct, and judicial misconduct. That means that the police, I had evidence, still have evidence, and the evidence is all on record, that the police of Nassau County Police Department had framed the evidence so that I can take the fall for the person that they wanted the most, the baddest. He got away. He evaded 100 cops from both Nassau and Suffolk County. He evaded canine. He evaded helicopters. How he evade all that shit, that's on him. You understand what I'm saying? But they got me in custody for a gun charge, and now they want to slap this burglary in the 1st degree on me. That lady, that victim, that home that he evaded, never saw a gun. Never said she saw a gun, because she didn't. You understand what I'm saying? The gun and the burglary, 2 separate charges. But guess what? A nigga got away. And since that nigga got away, I gotta pay for this crime. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not paying for no crime. I'm gonna go to trial because they don't have no evidence on me. So the idea that I had pictures of the helmet that I was wearing next to the bike, but then their testimony is saying that we dumped the bike. We dumped the bike together. Dump the bike means that the bike didn't wipe out, right? So it wasn't an accident is what they're saying. They're saying that me and him, even though they didn't witness this with their 2 eyes, but their theory, the police theory, is that me and the person that I was with who burglarized that home had dumped the bike, that it didn't wipe out, despite the abrasions that I had. You understand what I'm saying? Despite that I was sent immediately to the hospital. And while I was sent to the hospital, that detective told the doctor something in his ear, and all of a sudden, they didn't give a fuck about my abrasions. And they sure didn't give a fuck about my eye that was closed shut and pus was forming all over this shit. I didn't even know if it fucking had an eye anymore because the branch, a big branch, stuck me in the eye, and I had to literally pull the shit out. You understand what I'm saying? That's how much I'm like walking into the unknown in the woods at that time. Right? What did I do? I helped my lawyer, right? That punk ass lawyer that got paid to slay me, right? Because he's from New York City, and they told me from day one, because you're from New York City with a New York City lawyer, the judge is going to give you 20 years if you blow trial. Well, he gave me 17. He gave me 12 in prison and 5 on parole. Let me tell you what happened before I got sentenced to 17 years in prison, which is a crazy, outstanding charge for what I got accused of. Which is, I got accused of being an accomplice to a crime that somebody else committed, that they know that somebody else committed, but that they charged me and convicted me criminally liable for another person. What that means is, as long as that person got away and I'm here, they could get me. The thing y'all need to know about the law is that there's 4 elements to the crime, right? So I appealed my case 9 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 by myself. My first lawyer was by a lawyer. My first appeal was by a lawyer. But the last 8 appeals, that was all me, because ain't no more free lawyer. You either gonna stay in this motherfucker or you're gonna fight for yourself. So that's what I did. I fight for myself, right? So let me tell you something real quick. Before sentencing, what happened at trial? So I got a burglary in the 1st degree, possession of stolen property in the 3rd and 4th degree, and then I got a possession of a weapon in the 3rd degree. So what that means is I'm facing 5 to 25 years, right? So now the jury was going to find me not guilty. How do I know this? 1, because I testified on my own behalf. 2, because all of the testimonies, the hearing minutes, the trial minutes, the grand jury minutes, all of the police officers and the detectives, inconsistent testimonies contradicted themselves and each other, which means that they committed perjury. The reality is that's what they did. So the idea that the jury goes to deliberate, right? And as the jury's deliberating, after just one day, they wrote a note, okay? The bailiff brings a note to the judge. The judge reads it out loud to the public and the lawyer and the DA and the defendant, which was me at the time. So what the note read is, we find the defendant not guilty of burglary in the 1st degree. Can we find her guilty of stolen possession of property? The judge looked at the jury and said, yes, you can do that. The jury went back to deliberate. The energy upbeat. So I got my lawyer in my ear, right? Telling me, a white man, of course. I got my lawyer in my ear. But he was a paid lawyer, and my mother scraped up every dime that she had, so it's all we had. You understand what I'm saying? And he was doing good up until this part. Check out what happened. So now, my lawyer's in my ear telling me that he's done a lot of trials, and that the jury being upbeat is a good thing, because juries don't like to convict people. They don't. They usually have, like, somber looks. So based on his experience and his perception, this is what he concluded, right? Okay. So I'm waiting. The whole time he's in my ear, I'm looking off into the distance, and I see the district attorney talking to the bailiff. Now, the reason why this is a problem for me is because the bailiff, while I was testifying, so what happened is during my testimony, two things. During my testimony, I had broke down in tears, right? I had a breakdown during my testimony. Now, your lawyer, as a defendant, if you were ever to go on stand, your lawyer cross-examines you first, but it's called a direct examination, which means that they get to ask you all the questions that they ask you first. And they already coach you on the questions. They already tell you what questions they're going to ask. So you're already ready for it, right? So it's like, I'm already ready for these questions, but yet I'm getting to this part of when I became known that the police were in pursuit, right? I don't have knowledge of this crime. I wasn't a part of this crime, but I was accompanied with the person who committed the crime. That doesn't make me a criminal. I already told y'all I had a gun possession, was ready to plead guilty to that. So, you know, the idea that you could be found guilty or held liable for something somebody else did because you do not want to become a snitch, because you do not have enough information, and just because the police should be doing their own job, they get paid a nice pretty penny, right? So, you know, the idea that we could get into this stage, and the bailiff during my testimony on direct testimony, right? During direct testimony, I had a breakdown. So while my attorney was asking me the question about when did you first become knowledgeable of the police? As I told the story, I first became knowledgeable of the police when I was at a red light. Like, after we left the area of the home that was invaded, we drove for like 4 or 5 blocks. I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes before I realized that the cops was in pursuit. And then by the time the bike took off, I'm a passenger, so it takes off without me knowing. And then it's going zoom. So it's like, now it's like, okay, there's a situation, right? Fight, flight, or what? I'm on the back of a bike. So it's just, you got to just be in your head. I don't know what you're thinking. You know what I'm saying? But that's like a whole nother story. The point is this. Why am I crying during this? You understand what I'm saying? Why am I crying during the direct testimony, which I was coached on and all the questions? Why? I'm going to tell you why. Because I didn't know that the police was there. And so as I go to tell the story of how fast that motorcycle was going and when we hit that cul-de-sac, once I get to the point where I'm talking about where we hit that cul-de-sac, the rotary where we was going so fast that the bike couldn't maintain the same speed and it wiped out. Once I got to that, I started choking up. I started crying because I'm a kid and that shit was scary. You understand what I'm saying? And the idea that I'm now telling it means that I'm reliving it. So I relived it means that I'm having the same emotions as if it was still there. And so at that time, I needed a break. Time out. I'm not testifying like this. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to get me all vulnerable and saying some shit on stand. Nah. So for sure, the judge gave me a break. So when I took a break, the judge gives me a break or whatever. When I take a break, the bailiff comes over and he's in my ear. Yo, you know, while I'm crying and everybody took a break, I took a break, the bailiff comes in my ear. That white man came in my ear and was telling me, yo, the judge don't believe you. You're going to get 20 years in prison. So when I see him speaking to the district attorney after the judge answered yes, you could, when the jury asked, can we find her not guilty of burglary and guilty of possession of stolen property instead? The judge says yes. But you know what happened? The district attorney was pissed. She snatched her purse, mad, walked out the back door like, nah, fuck this. And before she walked out the back door, the judge called her. Kirk, come here. Whispered something to her. I already told y'all, my lawyer's in my ear. Then all of a sudden, her and the bailiff is talking. So as her and the bailiff is talking, I'm just thinking to myself like, why would she be talking to him? I already know he ain't no good. So you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm paying attention, but I don't really know. But the more I paid attention, as they stood off in the distance, the more I paid attention, as I stayed off into the distance, the more I understood that something wasn't right. So I started watching them, right? And as I started to watch them, I started to notice their body language, right? Their body language was like, so he was talking to her. They face to face. You understand what I'm saying? So they talking like, and then she's like, and then he's like, so they're back and forth, but the energy is like up. The energy is up. The energy is urgent. You understand what I'm saying? They're going back and forth, back and forth. And as I start looking and paying attention, I can't hear nothing, but the shit is off. As I'm looking, guess what happens? The district attorney looks directly at me and then looks at him, taps him on the shoulder, nods her head like, look at her, look. The bailiff looks at me, and then they move out the doorway. Okay, I don't know. So anyway, so what happened next is about 10 minutes later, the judge is saying that one of the jurors have a 4 o'clock appointment. And so one of the jurors have a 4 o'clock appointment means that they're gonna suspend deliberations until the next day. Okay, so they suspended deliberations until the next day, right? But what I remember is him saying that one of the jurors have a 4 o'clock appointment. But at the time that the note was read, it was 3:20. And at the time right now, it's about 3:50. By the time the deliberations happened and all that interactions with the judge and the bailiff happened, it was about 3:50 p.m. So the idea that the judge is suspending deliberations because one of the jurors have a 4 o'clock appointment. Yeah, when I started studying the law and appealing all my appeals, I learned that jurors have a duty. They don't get to just go to appointments. And if they do go to appointments, the law says that the judge is supposed to inquire, what appointment do you have? And it's supposed to state on record, which they failed to state because there wasn't no appointment. You understand what I'm saying? What happened is that I became aware of a situation and they didn't know how to handle that at the time. So they had to have time to plan for whatever they was going to plan for. Because I don't know how I get from the jury asking a question of, can we find her not guilty of burglary in the first degree, which there was insufficient amount of evidence to convict me of that charge, and they asked instead, can we find her guilty of stolen possession of property, because one of the detectives did lie and say that the defendant had passed me, the person who burglarized the home that was never ever caught, even up to this day. Statute of limitation ran out a long time ago. The time ran out a long time ago. So yeah, it was just me paying that price for a petty ass burglary. You understand what I'm saying? But the idea that the jury asks, if we find her not guilty of burglary in the first degree, can we find her guilty of stolen possession of property? As I was already pleading guilty for possession of weapon of a 22 caliber little gun. You understand what I'm saying? So 22 caliber little gun I was going to plead guilty to. And now the jury's asking, if we find her not guilty of burglary, can we find her guilty of stolen possession of property? Because probably they believe the lies of the detective, which I was like ready to eat that. You understand what I'm saying? But they wasn't satisfied. Oh, no. Oh, no. You see, the problem here is this. The United States have a 98% conviction rate. Meanwhile, Nassau County has a 99% conviction rate, right? So by any means necessary, they will get their convictions. And that's exactly what they did to me. When that judge said to me, when my lawyer put in for a prima facie case, means that is a motion to dismiss on the grounds that there is insufficient amount of evidence. When he put in a prima facie case towards the closing of my case, the judge said, you know the DA's position. She taking the fall. That shit is in black and white and all on my records. You understand what I'm saying? None of that don't mean shit. It took me 9 appeals to realize how fucked up this system is. Because essentially I did and strive to do, and I did do, but I really strove to do the impossible. I strove to do what I know statistically. I strove to do what I knew statistically that most don't do. I mean, let's be for real. I did my first appeal. I wasn't aware of my second appeal. My lawyer didn't make me aware. But he's supposed to make you aware, and then you got 30 days from your first appeal to appeal. I missed that date. Right? So I had found out about my second right to appeal after 8 months. After 8 months. Mind you, I put in for a late notice to appeal. I had 4 months. After a year, it expires. So one thing about appeals is as long as you run inside your timelines to appeal, you could appeal again. You could appeal again. That's why people be like, how you appealed your case 9 times? I appealed my case 9 times because I had a direct appeal. All right. I had a direct appeal on the insufficiency of evidence. I had a direct appeal on excessive sentence. And then, you know, when the direct appeal, they denied me. They denied me because why? On direct appeal, the appellate division denied my appeal because my lawyer failed to preserve my right at trial, right? So when he put in a prima facie case, which is a motion to dismiss the charges on the grounds that there's insufficient evidence to convict, right? So when he put in that prima facie case, he just said, I'd like to put in a motion to dismiss. There's insufficiency of evidence to convict my client. That's all he said. And the judge said what he said. Well, you know, the DA's position, she's taking a fall. So the appellate division is saying that they don't want to hear my case. Why? Not because the evidence was sufficient. They never said that. Not because the time was not excessive. They didn't even say that. They dismissed my case because my lawyer failed to preserve my right at trial during closing, during the motion to dismiss the prima facie case, okay? He did not detail the reasons why as outlined by law. Therefore, he did not preserve my right to appeal. So what that means is my lawyer this whole time was working with me and against me because he knew what he was doing. You understand what I'm saying? He was a seasoned attorney over 12 years. A lot of clients, a lot of people knew him. He was referred to me. You understand what I'm saying? But the reality is that when white supremacy talks, they yell. And when they yell, people fucking holler and they fear, and then they do whatever they say and fear that things will be done to them. So I don't know what happened. I just know that he was white, they was white, and this was a whole racist thing. You understand what I'm saying? Because a black man had robbed a white woman's home, despite that it was $400 in cash in a wallet, combined with a wallet and a purse. Some petty shit. Anybody knows anything about petty crimes, you should know that in order for things to be considered a grand larceny, right? It has to, the stolen property has to be a value of $1,000 or more, right? Grand larceny means felony time, right? And I forgot the other one. If it's low larceny, I just know grand larceny. I don't know what anything is under that. I just know it's a misdemeanor under $1,000. So the idea that the guy that I was with had robbed a crib for a personal wallet worth of $400 in cash, and that they had credit cards, so that they gave me a count for each credit card. So the white woman and her husband had 9 credit cards together. I got 9 counts. Altogether, I had 11 counts. 1 burglary, 1 possession of weapon, and then 9 counts of stolen possession of property, man, that I never touched. Never found that shit on me. They lied on each other. They got caught in their lies, and then I testified on my own behalf to put the pieces to the puzzle. Ask any lawyer, they'll never tell their clients to testify, but guess what? I did. Because I felt like, you know, I'm going into this racist nation, and I wasn't sure about no juries and how fair they're gonna be. I just know that there was a lot to the story that was missing, and I wanted to give my honesty of what happened, and so I testified on my own behalf in my own defense, especially since the cops were lying, and it all fell against me, right? So what happened is I spent 11 unjust years in prison. The first 8.5 years I spent it appealing my case. Right? So I spent time in prison appealing my case, not taking nobody's head off. You understand what I'm saying? Appeals, learning the law more in there. I didn't know how to file motion. I learned all of that shit. Appeal my case 9 times. So now, what happens during the time that they found me guilty, after the jury was coerced, right? When I found that district attorney and the bailiff talking in the corner to each other, looking mad suspicious, here's what I did. I listened to the judge. The judge, he suspended deliberations to the next day. One of the jurors have a 4 o'clock appointment. It was already 4 o'clock. So unless his appointment was across the street, he already late to his appointment. Then they failed to follow the law because they supposed to ask what type of appointment is so urgent that you must relieve of your jury duty. And then that appointment has to be stated on record so that everybody understands it was an urgency. It wasn't no urgency. Let me tell you why. I had 7 days of trial. Before this day of the verdict being found guilty, I had 7 days of trial. For the first 7 days, whenever you go to trial, the judge has to stipulate to the presence of the jury. That is a constitution. It is your constitutional right to attend trial. Every single one of us who are accused of something and who exercise our right to go to trial, we have to be present for every single trial date. So the idea that the judge stipulates to the presence of the jury every single day except for the day that I was found guilty. The day after, they illegally suspended the jury to the next day so that they could plan their plot, right? Because I remember the judge clearly, like it was yesterday. Of course, it's my trauma. So I remember this shit like it was yesterday. The judge says to the district attorney and to my lawyer, I will see you here at 8 tomorrow. He looked over to the jury. I will see you here at 9 tomorrow, right? And so I'm like, okay, cool, 9 tomorrow. I remember going back to my unit in jail. It was different. The days was different. You understand what I'm saying? The lighting was different. The sounds was different. Everything was different. Something was off. Completely off. I keep hearing my lawyer inside of my ear telling me, oh, the jury's gonna find you not guilty because they're upbeat. Usually they're like this, usually. But then there's another thing in my ear saying, you know what you saw with that bailiff and that district attorney. Something else in my ear saying that you know is an odd thing that this got suspended for a juror that had an appointment at 4 o'clock, but the note was written at 3:40, 3:50. So the idea that all of a sudden the jury has to, okay, we'll see. All I remember is that the judge said he wanted the district attorney and my attorney there at 8 o'clock. He wanted the jury there at 9 o'clock. When I got there to the bullpen, so the bullpen is a cage that they hold you in before you go up to your courtroom or whatever, right? So as I'm sitting there, and they usually have you sitting there for like 8 hours, and you won't even have, you had a court date, but then you're there for 8 hours. You don't even see an attorney. Nobody respects you. They just reschedule your shit and just had you wasting time on bologna sandwiches and cheese and shit and that dry ass, stale ass, white ass bread. So while I'm sitting down there waiting, I'm looking at the clock. Big clock, because ain't nothing but time, right? 8 o'clock turned to 9 o'clock. I watched 9 o'clock turn to 10 o'clock. I watched 11 o'clock. It was almost 12 o'clock. It was about 11:40 something. And I went upstairs to the courtroom, and for the first time in 7 days, my mother was not the only one in the courtroom. It was a full house this time. Full house. And I remember pouring me a glass of water, and all of a sudden, the jury has reached a verdict. Whoa. Really? Where was I? Well, I was in the bullpen. They didn't have me around. Like the law says, you know, our Constitution, 6th Amendment right to trial, right to counsel, right to be present at trial, that stuff, yeah, it didn't even matter. Nah, fuck me. I came to an already made verdict, and I was found guilty on all counts. Despite that the day before, the jury wasn't going to find me guilty. Fine. Like I said, I appealed my case 9 times. I appealed my case 9 times. I put in for a rehearing, and I put in for a violent felony override. Because they had me marked as a violent felon and wasn't no violence involved. Nobody never saw a gun. Nobody was hit on the head. Nobody was slapped, stabbed, nothing. You understand what I'm saying? Just a clean, bum-ass burglary. So now, my shit is, I couldn't even get a violent felony override. Oh, and my shit is on the internet, by the way. It's not 100% accurate, but it is as accurate as it could get in the sense that those was my charges, and this was it went all the way to the federal division. As a state case, my case, the opinion of my case was written by a judge. No other state judge wrote an opinion on my case. They just denied it and said, you didn't follow the rules, denied. 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 Once it got to the federal division, the district court, the Eastern District Court. So once my shit got to the federal division, there was a federal judge that had ruled on my case, wrote an actual opinion on my case. But I feel like my case was never granted because they never wanted this shit to hit the fan. You understand what I'm saying? But like, again, I did 11 years, right? So I appealed my case. That's how I did my time for the first 8.5 years. I did my time by appealing my case. And when I appealed my case, like months, like the year before, I didn't have nothing left. I didn't have no more appeals, no clemency. I done put clemency in everything. Denied. Now, it's time to move on. It's time to move on. And I did. Right? So what happens is this. I end up losing all 9 appeals. They denied clemency. Even though there was no violence, they denied the violent felony override. They denied the rehearing all the way up to the United States Supreme Court is where I appealed. A lot of people ask me, how did you appeal your cases 9 times? Even lawyers ask me. Lawyers don't even know. So this is important. I'll tell you how. Again, your first appeal, usually done by an attorney. You leave it up to them because they're the experienced one, whatever. They study the law, whatever. Then, my second appeal, I appealed to the appellate court, state court, Court of Appeals, right? So my first appeal I lost because they said that my lawyer didn't preserve my right of trial. The Court of Appeal, they ruled on my case. They said they denied it because if you don't follow the rules of the lower court, they don't have to hear your case. They didn't even hear my case, right? Then I appealed to the Supreme Court of the state court, and the Supreme Court of the state court, their rules is the same as the Court of Appeals, which is that if you didn't follow the rules of the lower court, then they don't have to hear your case. So this is not like I lost 9 appeals because like I was guilty and they're like overruling my challenge to the guilty verdict. Oh no. They ruled against me and they failed and refused to relieve me from prison for this wrongful termination just on the fact that my lawyer did not preserve my right of trial. An appellate judge ruled a denial because of this reason. My trial attorney did not preserve my right at trial. He didn't. So that means that they can't hear my case. Fine, right? I exhausted my remedies. That's 3. Appellate division, Court of Appeals, Supreme Court. All appellate division, state. Now here's the thing that people don't know. There's something called a 440.10 motion. A 440.10 motion is another appeal. But the thing about a 440.10 motion is it's strict in its criteria of, in order for you to file this motion, you have to be claiming issues that happen off the record, not on the record, right? So the direct appeal is for issues that happen on the record. On the record means that a stenographer typed up everything that was said, everything that was said, and it's on. A stenographer typed up everything that is said and it's on record. That's what on record means. So I put in a 440.10 motion, right? On the grounds that I put in a 440.10 motion on the grounds that there was things that happened off record. Like my lawyer never asked for that 911 call. And my lawyer just failed to do a few more things, for long story short. And so what happened is I put in a 440.10 motion on the grounds that my attorney was ineffective because the appellate division ruled that. So it would be easy among all the other things that he failed to do. They deny me. I go to the higher courts. So again, in those appeals, that's 3 appeals again, because you go to the lower court, the Court of Appeals, and then the Supreme Court. So that's 3 more appeals. They deny me. They deny me saying that not anything that I said. They deny me and said for technicalities only. They deny me on technicalities only. They deny me and said that because I filed this motion and it brings up on the record claims, they deny me. The Court of Appeal says you didn't follow the rules of the lower court, we deny you. And then the Supreme Court says you didn't follow the rules of the lower court, we deny you. So I got denied. Despite the fact that the appellate division said that my counsel was ineffective, and that's why they don't want to even hear my case. That's why they don't want to hear my case. Despite all of this shit, you understand what I'm saying? So I said, okay, I have to exhaust my remedies. Exhausting my remedies means that in order for me to file a motion, a habeas corpus, rather, a habeas corpus is a federal motion. Habeas corpus means release the body. They had my body caged for 11 years. And after 7, I had put in for a habeas corpus to release the body on the grounds that the state failed to follow their own rules, as well as my counsel was effective. There was insufficiency of evidence. In order for me to be found guilty on a burglary in the first degree, there's 4 elements. Number 1, I had to be seen there at the house, in the dwelling, or in flight therefrom in order to be found guilty. That's number 1. Number 2, I had to be in flight therefrom with a weapon. Number 3, I had to knowingly and intentionally Do or say something, oh, that's number 3 and number 4. Do or say something that aided and abetted the person who actually burned. Nothing. 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 They have nothing. Nothing. Just a black girl that's going to pay the price for a black man that got away from robbing a rich white neighborhood that pays directly their police department, because their taxes is really high when they're doctors and lawyers and all of these things in their neighborhood. You understand what I'm saying? When they got full court basketball courts and full court tennis courts in their backyards, in their neighborhood. This gated ass community. You understand what I'm saying? As a child, I don't understand that shit. I'm from the fucking streets. I had just started going to school, just started changing my life. I don't know nothing about none of this privileged white shit. You understand what I'm saying? I got caught up in a situation and I fought back. And I lost. I lost 9 times. I lost 9 appeals. I put in for a violent felony override. I lost that. I put in for a rehearing. I lost that. I put in for clemency. I lost that. So I did all of my time. And then I came home and spent 5 years on parole.